If we want our children to listen to us, we must first listen to them. If we want our children to understand us, we must first understand them. How do we reach them? How do we get them to understand us and we understand them? The first step is by recognizing that each generation will always have a different version of the song that we had when we were growing up. Parents just don't understand. This is part of sunnat al-hayah, that as we grow older, we look back at our own parents and we think, wow, we really gave them a run for their money. And our children will get to that point as well. And this is the process, recognizing that we will not always be privy to the conversations of our teens and our children. We won't always be allowed entrance into that secret realm. But we do have to understand it. And we do have to understand the avenues that we can follow and pursue to connect with our children. And it's not always by using the same words. Because I know I embarrass my teenagers all the time when I'm speaking to their friends and I'm like, oh, that's so on fleek, or like, yeah, that's extra. And they're like, Mom, don't, like, just don't. So it's not about us adopting their language and utilizing it. It's about us listening. It's about being able to really hear our children when they speak to us. And to hear them not just with our ears, but to show them that we are interested in what they have to say, to connect with them with our eyes, to drop our devices, to put down the phone, and to really listen to them, to be present, to have them see that we are interested in their lives. We want to know what's going on. We want to have that connection with them, because that's the foundation. Our children will enter into a world that will consistently try to highlight for them that they are different. They will enter into a world where people will tell them they're not good enough, they're not smart enough, they're not pretty enough, they're not thin enough, they're not good enough. Our children need to be able to come home to a place of security where they can know and they can hear consistently that they are more than good enough, that they are more than pretty, that they are more than everything the world tells them. And we can only give that to our children when we learn how to connect with them, when we learn how to speak to them. Where does it begin? It begins with our own communication. How do we speak to our spouse? How do we speak to our own parents? When our children see us interacting as a family, do they know mom's the easy one and dad's the tough one? Do they think, well, I can talk to this parent, but I can't talk to that parent? When they see us interacting with our own parents, how do we communicate with them? If we communicate at all. Do we call them? Do we speak to them? Are we kind to them? Because our children will emulate those actions. Our children will look for the communication cues that they learn from us, from who we are and how we interact. And they will co-opt that into their lives. Talk to your children. If your child is a texter, reach out through text and tell them that you love them. Tell them that you are proud of them. Tell them that they're amazing. But even better than that, tell them to put their phone down. Tell them to come sit next to you. Tell them that you enjoy their company and you want to be with them. And don't just tell them, show them. Be the parent who goes on the field trip with the children. Be the parent who drives the children to soccer practice. Be the parent who sits through the presentations and the programs. Be the parent who is there. Because when you're the parent who's there for the children at a young age, Your children will be there when you grow older. And not because they have to, but because they want to. Because you've built that connection with them brick by brick, step by step. You've built it through your connections of communication. You've built it by being able to speak to them. You've built it by knowing that when you speak, they will listen, because when they speak, you also will listen. We're living in the age of information where our children are bombarded. They're bombarded with images, with social media, with different chat groups online, with things they watch on YouTube, with television shows. They are bombarded every which way. We are living in an age where Hollywood in particular tries to teach our children to do you, to be your own person, to be yourself. And implicit in those messages of doing you and being your own person is a thin thread. A thread of you do you, and it doesn't matter what your parents think. And we know, of course, the importance of the relationship between parent and child. We know in the Quran, we are reminded consistently in the verses in the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about shirk, speaks about the biggest sin possible. Those verses are frequently followed with the importance of being good and kind to parents, the importance of lowering the wing of humility to your parents. But it's a two-way street. Respect is reciprocal. Our children will respect us when we show them that respect as well. And what does it mean to respect our children? It doesn't mean to give in to their whims, to buy them every latest new Xbox game, to purchase devices left and right. That's not what it means. It means to listen. It means to understand. It means to try to connect with them in a tongue that they can comprehend. How do we achieve that? Again, it's not by trying to co-opt their language. It's not by trying to speak in the way that they speak. It's in learning the code for ourselves, in understanding for ourselves what it is that they're saying, but even more than that, what it is that they're going through. When our youth speak to us about things like K2 or spice, know that they're not speaking about a new Dunkin' Donuts flavor or some kind of candy. Know that these are synthetic drugs that are being used in high schools around the country. When our kids begin to talk about or show interest in the legalization of marijuana, talk to them. Don't shy away from these hard subjects. It used to be that we were afraid when our kids would ask a question like, Mom, Dad, where do babies come from? Those are the easy questions now. Instead, we have youth, children as young as elementary school asking, Mom, Dad, how come my friend Katie has 2 moms? Mom, Dad, how come this person has the boy's name but looks like a girl? Mom, Dad, how come in the bathroom in school now, boys who feel like they're girls can use the same bathroom as me? These are real questions, and they're questions that we need to educate ourselves on so that we can have those conversations. This is how we speak in the same tongue. It's by understanding the power of language and understanding the power of the nonverbal as well, and being able to connect with our children because we understand, because we are aware, because we recognize what is happening in the world. In our counseling center, we see a lot of teens who have suffered deep emotional trauma because of catfishing. And I've mentioned this term frequently, and I'll continue to mention it in my sessions because I don't think there is enough awareness that surrounds catfishing and what it is. But many of our teens are lonely. They are looking for someone to speak to. Why? Because as parents, we may not be affording them the supportive atmosphere, not only to speak to us, because our children will not tell us everything, but to also create that dynamic space where they have friends, companions, who have the adab, the akhlaq, the iman that we want to inculcate in them. And if we are not giving them that supportive atmosphere, then guess what? They will find it. And they will find it in all of the wrong places. And they will go online and they will latch on to the first person that tells them, you look cute in this picture. I like your tweets. I think you're deep. You're so extra. And when they latch on to that person, it will not matter that this may be a predator. It will not matter to them that this may be someone who has taken someone else's identity. It does not matter that this could be a pitfall, a trap, a situation of catfishing, because they will be seeking someone who will listen. And so I urge you all, and the advice is for myself first and foremost, to be the one who listens, to be the one who understands, to learn the tongues of our children so that we can connect with them. Because as this generation grows, their difficulties will be very different. Their challenges will be very different than the difficulties and challenges we may have faced as children. But inshallah, we will be the ones that are there to understand, the ones that are there to guide them, the ones that with the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hopefully be able to lead them on the path of the most righteous. Bi-iznillah. Jazakumullahu khair.